How did a slice of wedding cake dropped on the floor end up costing my son's new in-laws their perfect image, their business deal, and their control over my family? At my son's wedding, they laughed as they handed me that dirty slice, just for fun. When I calmly texted my son's ex and watched the room freeze as she walked through the door, it was only the first sign that I was done letting them treat me like the weak one. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The wedding cake was perfect. 5 tiers of ivory fondant with gold leaf accents probably cost more than my first car. I stood near the dessert table, watching my son Noah cut the first slice with his new wife Aria, their smiles brilliant under the chandelier light. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life too. Father of the groom, proud moment, all that. I should have seen it coming. Miles Harrington, Aria's father, approached the table with that CEO swagger he wore like cologne. 60 years old, tanned, teeth too white. Behind him came Lena, his wife, dressed in something expensive and beige. They owned Harrington agribusiness, warehouses, distribution networks, the kind of operation that made my own employer look modest. Noah had been dazzled by them from day one. "Evan," Miles boomed, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "Enjoying the celebration?" "It's beautiful," I said. "You've done an amazing job with everything." "Well, we spare no expense for our Aria." He exchanged a glance with Lena. Something passed between them, something I couldn't read. "Say, you look hungry. Have you tried the cake yet?" "Not yet. Waiting for—" A server appeared, carrying a small plate. On it sat a slice of cake. But something was wrong with it. The frosting was smudged, the gold leaf crumpled. It looked like it had been dropped. "Here you go," Miles said, taking the plate from the server and extending it toward me. "Special slice, just for you." Lena's smile was surgical. "We thought you might appreciate something a little more down to earth." The nearby guests had gone quiet. I looked at the plate, at the floor, back at Miles's expectant face. "This fell on the floor," I said quietly. "Did it?" Miles turned to Lena with exaggerated surprise. "Did you see that happen?" "I might have," Lena said. "But it's still good cake. 5-second rule, right?" Laughter rippled through the vicinity. Not kind laughter, the performative kind, the type people offer when someone powerful makes a joke and they want to be seen agreeing. I looked for Noah. He stood 20 feet away with Aria, both watching. My son's face showed discomfort, but he didn't move, didn't speak. Aria was grinning, her eyes bright with something that looked like satisfaction. She leaned close to Noah and whispered something. He nodded, his smile uncertain. "Come on, Evan." Miles pressed the plate toward me. "Don't be difficult. It's just cake." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I took the plate with one hand, set it on a nearby table, and pulled out my phone with the other. The text was from Tara Collins. "How's the wedding? Thinking of you?" Tara, Noah's ex-fiancée, the woman who used to ask me about soil pH levels and crop rotation like she genuinely cared, the woman who remembered my birthday without reminders, the woman Aria had replaced 18 months ago. I typed back, "Could use a friendly face." 3 dots appeared immediately. "What's so important?" Aria had materialized beside me, her voice sharp. She'd always hated when I talked to Tara, even back when Tara and Noah were together. "We're trying to have a family moment." "Just checking in with work," I lied. "On your son's wedding day?" She made a sound of disgust. Typical. My phone buzzed again. "Tara, give me the address. I'll be there in 40 minutes. I looked up. Miles was still holding court near the dessert table, telling some story about quarterly projections. Lena was laughing at appropriate intervals. Aria stood with her arms crossed, radiating irritation. Noah wouldn't meet my eyes. I typed, "You don't have to do that." "Tara, I know, but I want to. See you soon." "Who are you texting?" Aria demanded. "An old colleague," I said. "Right." She turned on her heel and walked back to Noah, her dress swishing. She said something to him, gesturing in my direction. He glanced at me, then away. I pocketed my phone and moved toward the hotel corridor, away from the reception hall. My heart hammered in my chest, but not from fear. Something else. Something colder and clearer. 38 minutes later, I was standing near the entrance when the double doors opened. Tara walked in. She wore a simple navy dress, nothing fancy. Her hair was pulled back. No jewelry except small earrings. But she carried herself with the kind of confidence that doesn't require announcement. She saw me immediately and smiled. The laughter from the dessert table area cut off like someone had flipped a switch. Tara crossed the room toward me. I could feel every eye tracking her movement. Miles had stopped mid-sentence. Lena's champagne glass had frozen halfway to her lips. Aria's mouth had formed a small O of shock. "Hey, Evan," Tara said, reaching me. Her voice was warm, genuine. "Sorry, I'm late." "You made it," I managed. "Of course I did." She glanced past me at the reception. "Oh, wow. They really did go all out." Noah had started moving toward us, his expression confused. Aria grabbed his arm, but he shook her off gently and kept coming. "Tara?" Noah said. "What are you doing here?" "Evan invited me," Tara said simply. "I hope that's okay." Yeah, I mean... Noah looked back at Aria, who was now flanked by both her parents. All three wore identical expressions of disbelief. "This is just unexpected." My phone buzzed. I pulled it out. Tara had sent a message 30 seconds ago. "I'm here." The hotel ballroom felt suddenly smaller, the air charged with something electric. Tara stood beside me, steady and calm. The Harringtons stood in a tight cluster across the room, their perfect evening suddenly complicated. And me? I stood there with my phone in my hand, looking at that message, feeling something shift in my chest. Not anger, not yet, but awareness. Crystal clear awareness of exactly where every person in this room had placed me. At the bottom. Time to start climbing back up. My kitchen smelled like coffee and old memories. I sat at the table, staring at the empty chair across from me. Tara used to sit there, back when she and Noah were engaged. She'd come over for Sunday breakfast, ask about my work week, actually listen to the answers. Aria had sat there exactly twice, both times scrolling through her phone while I talked. The wedding had been 3 days ago. Since then, silence from Noah. Radio silence from the Harringtons, except for one brief text from Lena thanking me for attending despite the awkwardness. Despite the awkwardness. Like I'd been the one who created it. My phone sat on the table, face up. I'd been staring at it for 20 minutes, trying to decide whether to call Tara back. She'd left the reception shortly after arriving, claiming an early morning, but she'd sent me a message later that night. "We should talk. Coffee tomorrow?" Tomorrow had become today, and I still hadn't responded. I thought about Aria's face when Tara walked in, that flash of pure panic before the mask slammed back down. Aria had always been threatened by Tara, even when there was nothing to be threatened by. Tara was younger than me by 27 years, for heaven's sake. But it wasn't about that. It was about respect. Tara treated me like a human being. Aria treated me like an obstacle. I remembered a dinner 2 years ago, when Noah had first introduced me to the Harringtons. Miles had dominated the conversation, talking about market shares and distribution channels. When I'd mentioned my work on nitrogen fixation in legumes, he'd literally waved his hand dismissively. "That's very specialized, Evan," he'd said. "Not really relevant to the bigger picture." Aria had laughed. "Dad means it's not about making profit. Right, Dad?" "Exactly. Pure research is charming, but commerce is what matters." Noah had squirmed in his seat, but said nothing. Tara, who'd been at that dinner, had leaned forward. "Actually, Mr. Harrington, Evan's research is directly applicable to reducing fertilizer costs in industrial farming. That's absolutely about profit." Miles had blinked. "Is that so?" "It is," Tara had said firmly. "His work on symbiotic bacteria could save operations like yours millions annually." The conversation had moved on, but I'd never forgotten that moment. Tara defending me, seeing my value when others couldn't be bothered. Aria hadn't forgotten either. After that dinner, she'd started making subtle comments about how Tara was always showing off and trying too hard to impress people. Within 6 months, she'd somehow maneuvered herself into Noah's life, and Tara was out. I never asked Noah what happened. Figured it was his business. But now, sitting in my kitchen with Tara's unanswered text glowing on my screen, I wondered. I picked up my phone and typed, "Cafe on Morrison Street, 1 hour?" The reply came in seconds. "See you there." The cafe was quiet. The mid-morning rush already passed. Tara sat in a corner booth, 2 cups of coffee already on the table. She smiled when she saw me. "Got you a dark roast," she said. "You still take it black, right?" "You remember." "Of course I remember." She studied my face. "You look tired." I sat across from her. The chair was wrong. Not like my kitchen chair, but having her across from me felt right anyway. Familiar? "The wedding was something," I said. "The floor cake was something." Her eyes flashed. I wanted to throw it in Miles's face. That would have been memorable. "Evan, I need to tell you some things." She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "Things I should have told you a long time ago." My stomach tightened. Okay. When Noah and I broke up, it wasn't mutual. It wasn't about us growing apart or wanting different things. She took a breath. Aria pursued him aggressively. She made it clear that being with her meant access to her family's resources, connections, opportunities, and she made it equally clear that I was unsuitable. Unsuitable how? Too career-focused, too opinionated, too comfortable with you. Tara's jaw tightened. That last one really bothered her. She told Noah that I was inappropriately close to his father. She implied things that weren't true and never would be true. Heat crawled up my neck. She said, "What?" She was jealous, Evan. Not because she thought something was happening, but because she hated that you and I had genuine respect for each other. She couldn't stand that I saw your value, that I listened to you, that I actually enjoyed learning from you. Tara leaned forward. She wanted Noah's loyalty completely redirected to the Harringtons, and you were a reminder that he came from somewhere else, someone else. Noah could have stood up to her. He could have. He didn't. Tara's voice was gentle but firm. He was dazzled by the lifestyle, the status, the money, and the Harringtons knew exactly how to exploit that. I drank my coffee. It was good, rich, and strong. Why are you telling me this now? Because they're not done with you. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through something, then turned the screen toward me. These are messages from Aria to Noah. He left his laptop unlocked one day when I was picking up my stuff from the apartment. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The messages were dated 18 months ago, right after the breakup. Aria: your dad's research is actually valuable. Dad thinks we could use it. Noah: use it how? Aria: integrate it into our operations. Your dad won't mind, right? He's not exactly entrepreneurial. Noah: I guess not. He's always been more academic. Aria: exactly. We can make something real out of his work. Give it commercial applications. He should be grateful, honestly. I stared at the screen. The words blurred slightly. There's more? Tara said quietly. She scrolled to another exchange. This one from 8 months ago. Aria: when are you going to talk to your dad about retirement? Dad wants to fold his research into the company framework. Noah: he's only 56. He's not ready to retire. Aria: then we'll call it consulting or advising or whatever makes him feel useful. Point is, we need access to his patents and formulations before he gets too attached to them. Noah: Aria, I don't know. Aria: Noah, we've talked about this. Your dad is holding on to things that could benefit everyone. Stop being sentimental. My hands had started shaking. I set down my coffee cup carefully. They've been planning this, I said, for over a year. Tara took her phone back. I debated telling you. It felt like stirring up trouble. But after the wedding, after that disgusting cake stunt, I realized they're going to keep degrading you until they get what they want. And then they'll discard you. Why do they even need me? Miles has his own operation. Because your research is actually groundbreaking, Evan. You know that, right? Tara's voice turned passionate. The bacterial nitrogen fixation protocols you developed aren't just theoretical. They're field-tested, proven, scalable. If the Harringtons can claim ownership or even association, they'll corner a massive market. I remembered the patent notification I'd seen on my phone a week ago. I'd barely glanced at it. Just another renewal reminder for work I'd done years ago, filed through the company but listed under my name as primary inventor. I need to check something, I said, pulling out my phone. I opened my email and searched for the patent office. There it was, a notice about renewal and maintenance fees for patent US 7842 AGNF. Inventor, Evan Mercer. Assignee, Agricor Solutions, with exploitation rights granted to inventor. Exploitation rights. I'd negotiated that years ago, back when I still believed I'd start my own consulting firm someday. I'd wanted to keep the option of licensing my own work. What is it? Tara asked. I still own my research, I said slowly. Legally. The company owns the patent, but I have exploitation rights. I can license it, develop it, even restrict its use under certain conditions. Tara's eyes widened. They don't know that. No, I said. I don't think they do. A notification popped up on my screen as I stared at the patent details. Another email, this one from Miles Harrington. Subject line: Family brunch, Sunday, important discussion. I opened it. The message was brief, friendly, superficially warm. Looking forward to discussing some exciting opportunities for collaboration. Bring your appetite. Below that, in smaller text, please bring any documentation related to your research portfolio. We'd love to explore synergies. Documentation, research portfolio. Synergies? They were going to try to take it this weekend. I looked up at Tara. She was watching me, her expression careful. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I thought about that dirty slice of cake on a plate, about Noah's uncomfortable silence, about Aria's jealous glares and Miles's dismissive wave, and 18 months of messages plotting to use me and throw me away. "I'm going to need a lawyer," I said. Tara smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who'd been waiting to hear exactly those words. "I know someone," she said. "Her name is Julia Novak. She specializes in agribusiness contracts and intellectual property. Can she see me soon? I'll text her right now." Tara pulled out her phone. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen. "Evan? Yeah? I'm glad you invited me to the wedding." She looked up, her eyes fierce. "And I'm glad you're not going to let them erase you." "I spent 56 years building my expertise," I said. "I'm not handing it over to people who serve me floor cake and call it hospitality." My phone buzzed. "Tara, Julia can see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Her office is downtown. I'll send you the address." Another buzz, a message from Noah. "Dad, you're coming Sunday, right? Aria's family wants to talk about the future." I stared at both messages. Tomorrow at 10, I'd talk to a lawyer. Sunday, I'd face the Harringtons. Between now and then, I had to figure out exactly how much leverage I actually had. I typed back to Noah. "I'll be there." No other words, no warmth, just confirmation. Tara watched me pocket my phone. "You okay?" "Getting there," I said. One step at a time. The Harrington house was exactly what you'd expect from people obsessed with appearances. Stone facade, circular driveway, fountain that probably cost more than my annual salary. I parked my modest sedan between a Tesla and a Mercedes, feeling like a smudge on their perfect landscape. Sunday brunch, important discussion. I'd brought my appetite, all right. Just not for food. Lena answered the door in white linen pants and a silk blouse, her smile practiced. "Evan, so wonderful to see you. Come in, come in." The interior was all open concept and neutral tones. Expensive abstract art on the walls, fresh flowers in crystal vases. Through the massive windows, I could see a pool and manicured gardens. Miles emerged from what looked like a study, carrying a folder. "Evan, right on time. That's what I appreciate about you. Reliable." Reliable, like a tool that works when you pick it up. Noah and Aria sat in the living room area, coffee cups in hand. Noah stood when he saw me, his smile uncertain. Aria stayed seated, her greeting a brief nod. "Let's eat first," Lena said. I had our chef prepare a spread. The dining table could have seated 20. The spread included smoked salmon, fresh pastries, 3 types of eggs, fruit arrangements, and things I couldn't identify. I took a plate and filled it modestly, aware that every movement felt observed. We made small talk while eating. Miles dominated, as usual, discussing market trends and regulatory changes. Lena interjected with social observations. Aria contributed criticism disguised as concern. Noah mostly listened, occasionally glancing at me like he wanted to say something but couldn't figure out how. "So," Miles said eventually, pushing his plate aside, "let's talk about why we're really here." He opened the folder and pulled out several documents. "Noah's told us about your impressive research background. 28 years at Agricor, correct?" 26, I corrected. "Started when I was 30. Right. Well, we've been thinking about opportunities for collaboration." Miles spread the papers across the table. "Harrington Agribusiness has the infrastructure and market reach. You have specialized knowledge. It's a natural partnership." I looked at the documents without touching them. They appeared to be some kind of framework agreement, pages of dense text. "What kind of partnership?" I asked. "Advisory role, initially," Miles said. "We'd integrate your research into our operational models. You'd consult on implementation, provide technical guidance. Very straightforward." "And my existing patents?" Miles exchanged a glance with Lena. "Well, naturally, we'd need to establish clear lines of ownership and exploitation. Can't have confusion about who controls what, especially once we start marketing these solutions." "My patents are already filed," I said, "with me as primary inventor." Of course, but you'd want to maximize their commercial potential, wouldn't you?" Miles leaned forward. "Evan, let's be honest. You're a brilliant researcher, but you're not a businessman. We can take your work and turn it into something that matters in the real world." Something that matters. As if 26 years of field trials and published studies were abstract nonsense. Aria spoke up. "What Dad's saying is that you've done the hard science part. Now let us do what we do best. Make it profitable. You'd still get credit, obviously. What kind of credit? Acknowledgement in our promotional materials, Aria said. Maybe a line on the website. Developed in consultation with agrochemist Evan Mercer. That sort of thing. A line on the website, in exchange for 2.5 decades of work. I picked up the top document and started reading. The language was deliberately complex, but the intent was clear. By signing, I'd be transferring exploitation rights to Harrington Agribusiness in exchange for a modest consulting fee and vague promises of appropriate recognition. This gives you complete control, I said. It establishes a framework for collaboration, Miles corrected. It eliminates my licensing rights. It streamlines the process. Look, Evan, this is how business works. You can't have everyone pulling in different directions. We need unified control to execute properly. I set down the document. I need to review this with my attorney. The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Your attorney? Lena's smile had stiffened. Evan, we're family now. We don't need lawyers complicating things. It's standard practice for any significant agreement, I said. Significant? Miles laughed, but there was an edge to it. Evan, we're talking about giving your research a future. Without us, what do you have? Some patents gathering dust while you work in a lab somewhere? I have 26 years of field-tested expertise, I said quietly. I have relationships with growers, cooperatives, and university research programs. I have a reputation built on accuracy and results. You have a job that could disappear tomorrow if Agricor restructures, Miles shot back, the friendly facade cracking. You think they value you. You're approaching retirement age. They're already looking at younger, cheaper alternatives. Noah shifted uncomfortably. Dad, maybe we should... Noah, stay out of this, Miles said. Evan, I'm trying to help you. We're offering you security, stability, a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself. By signing away my rights. By joining the family business, Miles's voice rose. You're being stubborn and short-sighted. This is a generous offer. I stood up, leaving my plate half-finished. I appreciate you putting this together, but I won't sign anything without proper legal review. I hope you understand. What I understand, Miles said, standing as well, is that you're making a mistake, a serious mistake. Dad's right, Aria added. Her expression had gone cold. You should think very carefully about your position here, Evan, about what you're risking. What am I risking? I asked. Your relationship with your son, she said simply. Noah needs family unity right now. If you're going to be difficult, that's going to create problems for everyone. Noah's face had gone pale. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Aria, that's not... I'm just being honest, Aria said. If Evan can't be a team player, if he's going to drag lawyers into family discussions, then maybe he needs to think about whether he's really part of this family or not. The ultimatum hung in the air like smoke. Lena stepped forward, her voice soothing. Let's not get emotional. Evan, why don't you take the documents home, look them over, and we'll talk again in a few days. No pressure. But we do need an answer soon, Miles added. We have investors waiting. Timeline matters. I picked up the folder. I'll review everything carefully. Thank you for brunch. Noah followed me to the door. Outside, away from the others, he caught my arm. Dad, I didn't know they were going to do this. Didn't you? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the expensive watch, the designer clothes, the nervous guilt in his eyes. I mean, I knew they wanted to talk about collaboration, but not like this. Not with ultimatums. Noah, have you read the messages between you and Aria? The ones about using my research? His face confirmed the answer before he spoke. That was just talk. We weren't serious. And she was serious. They are serious. I stepped closer. They've been planning this for over a year, waiting for the right moment to pressure me into giving up everything I've built. Dad, they're not bad people. They're just focused, driven. They served me floor cake at your wedding. Noah flinched. That was Miles being Miles. Stupid joke. No, I said. That was them showing me exactly where I rank in their world. At the bottom, beneath consideration. You're being too sensitive. And you're not being sensitive enough. I pulled my arm free. I'll review the documents. But Noah, I'm not signing anything that strips away my rights. Not for them, not even for you. I walked to my car and drove away, watching the Harrington house shrink in my rearview mirror. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my mind was racing. Back home, I went straight to my office. Pulled out every patent filing, every research log, every contract I'd ever signed with Agricor. Spread them across my desk like a battle map. The patents were solid. 3 major filings, all with my name as primary inventor. The exploitation rights clause was clear. I retained licensing authority independent of Agricor's commercial use, but there were other documents too. Non-disclosure agreements, collaboration frameworks with universities, research partnerships with cooperatives, a whole web of relationships that the Harringtons knew nothing about. My phone buzzed. Julia Novak, the attorney. Mr. Mercer? Tara Collins gave me your information. I have an opening tomorrow at 10 if you'd like to discuss your situation. I'll be there, I said. Bring every document you have related to your research, patents, and employment. Everything. Already organizing it? Good. She paused. Tara mentioned the Harringtons. I've dealt with Miles before. Different client, similar tactics. You're right to be careful. After we hung up, I sat in my office until the sun set, reading through decades of my own work, remembering field trials in scorching heat and freezing rain, remembering the cooperatives that trusted my recommendations, remembering the growers who called me directly because they knew I'd give them straight answers. The Harringtons thought I was just a researcher, a technical specialist who could be intimidated into surrendering his life's work. They were about to learn otherwise. Julia Novak's office was in a mid-rise downtown, the kind of building that suggested competence without pretension. Her reception area had agricultural journals on the coffee table and framed photos of farmland on the walls. This was someone who understood the industry. She was shorter than I expected, maybe 5'4", with gray-streaked black hair and sharp eyes behind frameless glasses. Her handshake was firm. Mr. Mercer, come in. Her office was organized chaos. Files stacked neatly, 2 computer monitors, a whiteboard covered in notes and diagrams. She gestured to a chair across from her desk. Show me what you brought. I opened my briefcase and started pulling out documents. Patents, contracts, research logs, collaboration agreements. She took each one, scanning quickly, her expression focused. Exploitation rights, she muttered, reading the patent language. Independent licensing authority. Provisional approval for derivative applications. She looked up. This is excellent. Most researchers don't negotiate this level of control. I thought I might consult independently someday, I said. Never got around to it. Lucky you didn't give up the option. She moved to the next document. Agricor employment contract. Standard intellectual property assignment clause, but... Wait. She leaned closer. This specifies that inventions developed using primarily personal knowledge rather than company resources remain partially under inventor discretion. Did you develop these protocols at work or independently? Mix of both. The foundational research was mine, done on my own time. Agricor provided field testing resources, but the core methodologies came from my doctoral work and independent study. Julia's smile was predatory. Even better. Walk me through the Harrington situation. Everything. I told her. The wedding, the floor cake, the messages Tara had shown me, the brunch meeting and Miles's pressure tactics, the framework agreement they wanted me to sign. She listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes. When I finished, she sat back. They're trying to establish ownership through intimidation and family pressure, she said. Classic tactic. Make you feel isolated, undervalued, desperate for validation, then offer you scraps and call it generosity. Can they actually take my research? Not legally, no. Your patents are solid. Your exploitation rights are explicit, but they can make your life difficult. Harass you with legal threats, damage your professional reputation, pressure Noah to pressure you. She tapped her pen on the desk. How much does Noah know about your legal position? Very little. He sees me as his father, the chemist, not as someone with significant intellectual property. Keep it that way for now. The Harringtons likely assume the same thing. She pulled up something on her computer. I'm going to need a few days to review everything thoroughly and develop a strategy. But my initial assessment, you're in a much stronger position than they realize. What kind of strategy? First, we document everything, every communication, every pressure tactic, every attempt to coerce you. Second, we reinforce your legal ownership through updated filings and trust structures. Third, we prepare for their escalation, because they will escalate. Escalate how? They'll claim you're being unreasonable. They'll try to damage your relationship with Noah. They might even attempt spurious legal challenges hoping you'll settle rather than fight. Julia leaned forward. But here's what they don't know. Your research has value far beyond what they understand. Those protocols you developed, they're not just useful for Harrington agribusiness. They're applicable across multiple farming sectors. I know. But do your existing contacts know? The cooperatives you've worked with? The university partners? Have you maintained those relationships? I thought about Victor Hale. who ran a major cooperative in the Central Valley. I'd helped him troubleshoot soil issues for 15 years. Some. Victor Hale still calls me quarterly. Call him back. Don't mention the Harringtons. Just reconnect. Remind him you're still active, still available. Same with any other key relationships. She made a note. We want to build a foundation of support. When this goes public, and it will go public, we want people already on your side. You think it'll come to a public confrontation? I think Miles Harrington doesn't accept no for an answer, and I think he's used to getting his way through intimidation. Julia's expression hardened. I've seen him destroy small operations by leveraging market power and social pressure, but you're not a small operation. You're an individual with ironclad legal rights. That's different. We spent another hour going through details. She explained trust structures that could protect my assets. We discussed potential licensing agreements. She outlined defensive strategies if the Harringtons filed nuisance lawsuits. One more thing, Julia said as I was leaving. Don't sign anything. Don't send any emails that could be misconstrued. Don't make promises or commitments. Every interaction from now on goes through me. Understood. And Mr. Mercer, document everything. Keep a daily log of any contact with the Harringtons or Noah related to your research. Dates, times, content. If this ends up in court, we'll need a clear record. I drove to the bank next. Arranged a meeting with the trust officer. Set up structures to protect my assets if things got hostile. Moved some accounts around. Made sure everything was where it needed to be. Then I called Martin Cho, my manager at Agricor. Evan, haven't heard from you since the wedding. How's married life treating your son? Still adjusting, I said. Listen, I need to discuss something. Got time this week? For you? Always. What's going on? Just want to review my position here. Make sure we're aligned on my ongoing role and research direction. A pause. Is there a problem? No problem. Just being proactive. Okay. Thursday afternoon work? Perfect. Thursday's meeting was in Martin's office, a cluttered space that smelled like coffee and stress. Martin was 48, competent but risk-averse. He valued stability over confrontation. So what's this about? He asked. I want to confirm my status regarding the bacterial fixation protocols, I said, specifically my exploitation rights and licensing authority. Martin frowned. Is someone challenging that? Not yet, but I want to be clear on where Agricor stands if someone tries. We stand with you. You developed that work. We benefited from the patent, sure, but you retained significant control. That was the agreement. He studied me. Evan, what's happening? My son married into the Harrington family. They're interested in commercializing my research. Harrington Agribusiness? Miles Harrington? That's right. Martin's expression shifted. Yeah, I can see where this is going. Miles is aggressive. He tried to poach 2 of our researchers last year, offered them positions that sounded great until you read the contracts. What happened? They stayed with us. Turned out Miles wanted to own all their future work, not just what they do for him. Intellectual servitude disguised as opportunity. Martin leaned back. You need backup? Maybe. Is Agricor willing to confirm my rights publicly if necessary? Absolutely. You're one of our most respected researchers. We're not throwing you under the bus for Miles Harrington. He pulled out his phone and typed something. I'm sending this up to legal. They'll draft a formal confirmation of your status. Should have it by end of week. Thank you. Evan? Be careful with Miles. He plays dirty. If he can't buy you, he'll try to break you. That evening I called Victor Hale. Evan Mercer, it's been too long. How have you been? Good, Victor. Calling to check in. How are the fields looking? We talked for 30 minutes about soil conditions, rainfall patterns, upcoming planting schedules. Normal stuff. The kind of conversation we'd had 100 times over the years. You know, Victor said eventually, I was talking to some of the other cooperative leaders last month. Your name came up, we were discussing sustainable practices, and someone mentioned your nitrogen fixation work. Oh? Yeah. There's interest, real interest. A lot of us are looking at long-term soil health, trying to reduce chemical inputs. Your protocols keep coming up as proven solutions. They are proven, I said. 20 years of field data backing them up. That's what I told them. Look, Evan, if you ever wanted to do independent consulting, we'd be your first clients. Just putting that out there. My heart rate picked up. I appreciate that, Victor. I'm serious. The cooperatives trust you. We've worked with you long enough to know you don't oversell or underdeliver. That's rare. He paused. There's talk that Harrington Agribusiness is trying to position themselves in this space. You know anything about that? Some talk, I said carefully. Well, whatever they're offering, remember you've got options. We'd much rather work directly with you than through some middleman looking to take a cut. After we hung up, I sat on my back porch watching the sunset. The pieces were assembling: legal protection, company support, client loyalty. I wasn't some isolated researcher who could be quietly absorbed into the Harrington empire. I was something they hadn't counted on. Prepared. My phone buzzed. Noah. Dad, Aria's parents want to know if you've reviewed the documents. They're asking about timeline. I typed back, still in review with my attorney. These things take time. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Attorney? Dad, why are you making this so complicated? Just being thorough. Talk soon. I didn't wait for his response. Instead, I opened my email and started drafting a message to 3 other cooperative leaders I'd worked with over the years. Nothing aggressive, just a friendly check-in, reconnecting, reminding them I existed, reminding them I was available, building my foundation. The email arrived Tuesday morning. Formal invitation to the Regional Agribusiness Innovation Gala, sponsored by Harrington Agribusiness. Date, Saturday evening. Venue, Grand Belmont Hotel. We're thrilled to announce groundbreaking developments in sustainable farming technologies, the invitation read. Join us for an evening celebrating innovation, partnership, and the future of agriculture. At the bottom, in smaller text, special recognition for our lead scientific advisor, Dr. Evan Mercer. Lead scientific advisor, a title I'd never agreed to, for an organization I'd never joined. I forwarded it to Julia. She called within 10 minutes. They're moving fast. This is their play. Announce the partnership publicly, create social pressure for you to confirm it. If you contradict them at the gala, you look difficult. If you stay silent, they claim your acquiescence. Can they legally call me their advisor? It's borderline defamation if you've never agreed to the role. But fighting it after public announcement is harder than preventing it before. She paused. We need to accelerate our timeline. What do you need from me? Everything finalized by Thursday. Trust documents, updated partnership agreements with Agricor, written confirmations from your cooperative contacts. Then we prepare for Saturday. Prepare how? By making sure when they announce their fiction, we're ready to present the truth. The next 3 days blurred together. Meetings with Martin to formalize Agricor's support, calls with Victor and 2 other cooperative leaders, legal filings that Julia handled, updating structures and protections. Wednesday evening, Julia called me into her office for final review. Everything's in place, she said, spreading documents across her desk. Your patents are secured under a new trust structure. Agricor has issued formal confirmation of your independent licensing rights. Victor Hale and the cooperatives have provided written statements of intent to work directly with you. She pulled up an email. This morning, I received a message from Darren Fletcher at Midwest Grain Collective. He heard about Harrington's plans and wants to work with you directly rather than through intermediaries. I haven't talked to Darren in 2 years. Word travels. The agricultural community is smaller than people think. Julia smiled. Miles Harrington thinks he's cornering a market. What he's actually doing is alienating the people who make that market function. Farmers and cooperatives don't trust outsiders who try to control everything. They trust relationships built over decades. So what happens Saturday? Saturday, Miles announces his partnership with you. He probably presents it as done, maybe shows promotional materials with your name. Then you take the microphone. She handed me a folder. These are the documents we'll present. Patent filings showing sole inventor status. The unsigned Harrington frameworks. Messages from Aria discussing their plans. Statements from cooperatives pledging direct support to you. And if they try to stop me? They won't. Not in front of investors and industry leaders. That would confirm everything we're exposing. Julia leaned back. Evan, they built their entire strategy on the assumption that you're powerless. Isolated, intimidated, they're about to learn otherwise. Thursday afternoon, I met with Martin one final time. Legal sent over the formal confirmation, he said, handing me a letter on company letterhead. States clearly that Evan Mercer retains independent licensing authority for all nitrogen fixation protocols developed under patent US 7842 AG-NF and related filings. Confirms Agricor's support for your autonomous commercial decisions. Thank you. Evan, I heard about the gala. Miles sent invitations to half our executive team. Martin's expression was serious. What are you planning? Just correcting some misinformation. Good, because Miles has been telling people that you're joining Harrington full-time, that Agricor is losing you to a better opportunity. He shook his head. I want to be there when you set the record straight. You're invited? I am now. Just accepted this morning. Martin grinned. Wouldn't miss it. Friday evening, my phone rang. Noah. Dad, we need to talk about tomorrow. What about it? Aria's parents are really excited about the announcement. They've put a lot of work into this. His voice sounded strained. I need you to be supportive. Supportive of what, exactly? Of the partnership, of the family working together. Dad, this could be huge for all of us. Noah, did you read the framework agreement they wanted me to sign? Silence. Did you understand what it actually said? That it would give them complete control of my research in exchange for essentially nothing? They said it was standard business practice. It's not. It's exploitation disguised as opportunity. I kept my voice calm. I've spent 26 years building expertise and relationships. I'm not handing that over to people who serve me floor cake and call it a joke. You're still hung up on that. Dad, it was just Miles being Miles. No, it was them showing me exactly how much they respect me, which is not at all. I paused. Noah, I love you, but I'm not signing away my life's work to make your in-laws happy. So what are you going to do tomorrow? I'm going to tell the truth. Dad, the truth, Noah, just the truth. If that makes the Harringtons uncomfortable, maybe they shouldn't have built their plans on lies. I hung up before he could respond. Saturday morning, I dressed carefully. Dark suit, blue tie, polished shoes. I looked like exactly what I was, a professional with decades of experience, not someone to be dismissed or controlled. Julia had arranged to meet me at the hotel 2 hours before the event. When I arrived, she was already in a conference room with 3 other people. Evan, this is Marcus Webb from AgriCorps Legal, Patricia Lim from Cooperative Advocacy Group, and you already know Victor Hale. Victor stood and shook my hand. Wouldn't miss this for anything. When Patricia told me what the Harringtons were planning, I called 6 other cooperative leaders. 4 of them are here tonight. We're here to support you, Patricia said, and to make clear that the cooperatives won't be manipulated by corporate power plays. Julia spread documents across the table. Here's the sequence. Miles will speak first, probably around 7:30. He'll present his vision, announce the partnership, likely show promotional materials. Then he'll call you to the stage for remarks. That's when I speak. Exactly. You'll have these documents ready. She tapped the folder. Start with appreciation for the invitation. Then calmly explain that there is no partnership. Show the unsigned agreements. Present the patent documentation. Let the cooperative speak if needed. What about Noah? Victor asked. I looked at him. What about him? He's going to be caught in the middle. Just be prepared for that. The ballroom was impressive. Chandeliers, round tables with white linens, a stage with a podium and large screen. People in expensive clothes mingled, holding champagne glasses. I recognized several faces from industry conferences and trade publications. Miles stood near the stage, holding court with a group of investors. Lena worked the room with practiced grace. Aria and Noah were near the bar, both dressed impeccably. Aria spotted me first. Her expression flickered, surprise, then something harder. She said something to Noah, who turned. Even from across the room, I could see his discomfort. They didn't approach. Neither did Miles or Lena. I might as well have been invisible. Julia appeared at my elbow. They're pretending you're already neutralized. That's good. Means they're not prepared. Victor joined us, along with Martin and 2 cooperative leaders I recognized. We formed our own small group, and suddenly I didn't feel invisible anymore. At 7:30, Miles took the stage. The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit him. Good evening, friends and colleagues. Thank you for joining us for this momentous occasion. His voice boomed through the sound system, confident and commanding. Tonight, we're announcing a partnership that will revolutionize sustainable agriculture. The screen behind him lit up. Images of fields, crops, laboratory equipment. And there, prominently featured, was my name. Dr. Evan Mercer, Lead Scientific Advisor, Harrington Agricultural Innovation Division. My jaw tightened. Miles continued. For years, Harrington Agribusiness has been at the forefront of agricultural innovation. Tonight, we're proud to integrate breakthrough research in bacterial nitrogen fixation, technology that will reduce costs, improve yields, and promote environmental sustainability. More slides. Graphs showing projected savings, market analysis. All built on my work. This technology, developed by Dr. Evan Mercer and now exclusively partnered with Harrington Agribusiness, represents the future of farming. Miles gestured broadly. We're not just talking about incremental improvements, we're talking about transformation. He went on for 10 minutes, painting a picture of innovation and progress. with Harrington at the center and me as a supporting character in their story. "And now," Miles said, smiling broadly, "I'd like to invite Dr. Mercer to the stage to share his perspective on this exciting partnership." Applause filled the room. All eyes turned toward me. I stood, picked up the folder Julia had prepared, walked to the stage. Miles extended his hand as I reached the podium. I shook it briefly, then faced the audience. The room was silent, expectant. I opened the folder. "Thank you, Miles, for that creative presentation." My voice was calm, measured. "However, I need to correct several significant inaccuracies." Miles's smile faltered. "First, there is no partnership between myself and Harrington Agribusiness. No agreement has been signed, no terms have been finalized. The title Lead Scientific Advisor was assigned without my knowledge or consent." Murmurs rippled through the audience. I pulled out the first document. "These are patent filings for the nitrogen fixation protocols Mr. Harrington just described. As you can see, I am listed as sole primary inventor, with independent licensing rights retained under my employment agreement with AgriCore Solutions." I held up the paper so the audience could see, then placed it on the podium. "Second, these are the framework agreements that Harrington Agribusiness presented to me." I showed the unsigned documents. "As you can see, no signatures, no execution. They attempted to pressure me into signing agreements that would strip away my licensing rights in exchange for vague promises of recognition." Miles had gone rigid. "Evan, this isn't—" "I'm not finished." My voice stayed level. "Third, these are messages between members of the Harrington family discussing their intentions regarding my research. I'll read one. We can make something real out of his work. He should be grateful, honestly." I looked directly at Aria. Her face had drained of color. Another message: "We need access to his patents before he gets too attached to them." I set down the printouts. These messages span 18 months. This was not a spontaneous partnership opportunity. This was a calculated plan to acquire my work through family pressure and social manipulation. The room had gone completely silent. "Fourth, I have written statements from 4 major agricultural cooperatives confirming their preference to work directly with me rather than through corporate intermediaries." I gestured toward Victor. "Victor Hale, representing Central Valley Cooperative, is here tonight, as are leaders from 3 other cooperatives. They can speak for themselves if needed." Victor stood. "Everything Dr. Mercer said is accurate. The cooperatives trust him. We don't trust attempts to monopolize proven technology." I pulled out the final document. "This is formal confirmation from AgriCore Solutions that I retain full independent licensing authority for my research. They support my autonomous commercial decisions." I closed the folder and looked directly at Miles. "Mr. Harrington, you built tonight's presentation on a false premise. You assumed I could be intimidated, isolated, and ultimately controlled. You were wrong." Miles found his voice. "This is highly inappropriate. What's inappropriate is announcing a partnership that doesn't exist. What's inappropriate is attempting to claim ownership of research you didn't develop. What's inappropriate is serving someone floor cake at a wedding and then expecting them to surrender their life's work." Gasps from the audience. Aria had covered her mouth with her hand. "I came tonight to set the record straight. There is no partnership. There will be no partnership. My research, my patents, and my professional relationships remain under my control." I looked out at the audience. "If anyone here is interested in legitimate collaboration on nitrogen fixation protocols, you can contact me directly through AgriCore Solutions. I'm happy to discuss real partnerships built on mutual respect and fair terms." I picked up the folder and stepped away from the podium. The room erupted. Investors surrounded Miles, demanding explanations. Cooperative leaders approached Victor and Patricia, asking questions. Martin was grinning openly. Journalists who'd been invited to cover the innovation announcement were taking notes furiously. Julia appeared at my side. "Perfect. Exactly right." Tara materialized from somewhere in the crowd. She must have come in late. "That was incredible." Noah pushed through the crowd toward me. His face was twisted with confusion and anger. "Dad, what did you just do?" I told the truth. "You humiliated them. You humiliated me." "No, Noah. They humiliated themselves by building their plans on deception." I looked at him, really looked at him. "I gave you every chance to stand with me. You chose them instead. That's your decision to live with." Aria reached us, her face furious. "You've destroyed everything. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Yes, I've protected what's mine." Miles was trying to restore order at the podium, but investors kept interrupting him. Lena stood frozen near the stage, her social grace finally shattered. I turned to Julia, Victor, and Tara. "I think we're done here." We walked toward the exit. Behind us, the ballroom dissolved into chaos. Raised voices, urgent conversations, the sound of Miles trying and failing to control the narrative. I pushed through the doors and stepped into the hotel corridor. The noise from the ballroom faded to a muffled roar. Victor clapped me on the shoulder. That took guts. That took 26 years of building something worth protecting, I corrected. My phone buzzed. Multiple messages. Cooperative leaders wanting to schedule meetings, journalists requesting interviews, even a message from Darren Fletcher. Just watched the live stream. When can we talk? Live stream. The gala had been streaming online. The exposure was bigger than I'd realized. Julia checked her phone. 3 investors just contacted me asking about your availability. The Harringtons' reputation just collapsed in real time. I looked back at the ballroom doors. Through the small windows, I could see Miles still trying to address the crowd, Aria arguing with someone, Noah standing alone, looking lost. Let's go, I said. We walked through the hotel lobby and out into the night. The air was cool, cleansing. Behind me, the Harrington empire was unraveling. Ahead of me, the future was uncertain but mine. I climbed into my car, set the folder on the passenger seat, and drove away from the Grand Belmont Hotel. Away from the Harringtons, toward whatever came next. The morning after the gala, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Journalists, cooperative leaders, industry colleagues I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted a statement, a meeting, an explanation. I ignored most of them, answered a few selectively. Sunday morning, Victor called. Evan, you need to see the industry blogs. This thing went viral overnight. I opened my laptop. The headlines were everywhere. Agricultural researcher exposes corporate power play at Innovation Gala. Harrington Agribusiness Partnership revealed as fabrication. Floor cake and broken trust, the Evan Mercer story. Someone had recorded my entire presentation. The video had hundreds of thousands of views. Comments rolled in by the minute. This is what integrity looks like. Harringtons got what they deserved. Never trust people who serve floor cake as a joke. The floor cake detail had somehow become the symbol of everything wrong with the Harringtons' behavior. Memes were already circulating. Julia called. Have you seen the statements? What statements? Miles issued a press release this morning claiming misunderstandings and miscommunication. Aria posted on social media about family betrayal. The industry isn't buying it. Good. 3 more cooperatives contacted me overnight, 2 university research programs, and someone from the USDA Agricultural Innovation Office. Her voice carried satisfaction. Evan, you're not just protected now. You're positioned. People want to work with you specifically because you stood up to the Harringtons. Monday, I returned to work. Martin met me at my office with coffee and congratulations. Agricorp's board wants to discuss expanding your role, maybe heading up a new sustainable agriculture division. He grinned. Turns out having a researcher with integrity and backbone is good for business. I just want to do my work. And now you can, on your terms. Tuesday, I met with Victor and the cooperative leaders. We outlined a collaboration framework. Real collaboration, not exploitation disguised as partnership. They'd provide field testing sites. I'd provide protocols and guidance. Revenue would be shared fairly. Everything documented and transparent. This is how it should have been from the start, Victor said. Wednesday, Noah finally called. Dad, can we talk? We met at a neutral location. Small park, wooden benches, afternoon sun filtering through trees. Noah looked exhausted. Aria's parents are furious. They're blaming me for not controlling you. Controlling me? They said I should have managed the situation better, made you understand the opportunity. He rubbed his face. Aria keeps saying you humiliated her family. I exposed their deception. Dad, they're talking about legal action. Defamation, breach of implied contract, damage to business relationships. Let them try. Julia is ready. I studied my son. Noah, what do you think? Not what Aria thinks, not what her parents think. You. He was quiet for a long time. I think I made mistakes. I let them pressure me. I didn't defend you when I should have. His voice cracked. But Dad, they're my family now too. I can't just abandon them. I'm not asking you to abandon anyone. I'm asking you to think about what kind of family treats people the way they treated me. They're not bad people. They're just used to getting their way. At other people's expense. That's not business, Noah. That's bullying. I leaned forward. You have a choice. You can keep making excuses for their behavior, or you can demand better. From them and from yourself. He stood up. I need time to figure this out. Take all the time you need." He walked away, shoulders hunched. I watched him go, feeling something between sadness and relief. Thursday, the Harringtons' lawyer sent a letter threatening legal action. Julia responded within an hour, pointing out that truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and that any lawsuit would trigger discovery revealing the full extent of their attempted manipulation. The threats stopped. Friday, 2 weeks after the gala, I received an envelope in my office mail. Inside was a check from Harrington Agribusiness, not large, but not insignificant. The memo line read, "Consultation fee, good faith payment." Attached was a brief note from Miles. "In recognition of your contributions to agricultural discourse, no strings attached." I stared at the check for a long time. Then I tore it in half, took a photo of the torn check, sent it to Julia with a message. "For the record." She replied immediately, "Documented. Well done." I threw the pieces in the trash. 6 weeks after the gala, I stood in a field in the Central Valley watching a trial plot of soybeans. The plants were healthy, vibrant green, nodules visible on the root systems, nitrogen fixation working exactly as designed. Victor stood beside me. 23% reduction in synthetic fertilizer use. No yield loss. The numbers don't lie. They never do. "You know what the difference is between you and the Harringtons?" Victor asked. "What?" "You actually care about the work. They just cared about the profit." He gestured at the field. "This matters because you spent decades making it matter. That can't be faked or stolen or bought." My phone buzzed. Text from Tara. "Coffee this week? Want to hear about the new logistics system I'm developing?" I smiled and typed back, "Definitely. Wednesday?" "Perfect." Martin called that evening. "Board approved the new division. You'll head it up. Bigger budget, 2 additional researchers, and full autonomy on project direction. I don't need bigger. I need better. You'll get both." He paused. "Evan, you changed something here. People are talking about integrity again, about doing right by researchers. You reminded everyone what actually matters." 3 months after the gala, Noah showed up at my house unannounced. He looked different, thinner, tired, but also somehow clearer. "Can I come in?" We sat in my kitchen, the same table where Tara used to sit, where I'd read her messages about the Harringtons' plans, where everything had started to change. "Aria and I are separating," Noah said quietly. I waited. After the gala, things got worse. Her parents kept pressuring me to fix things, to make you cooperate, to salvage the partnership. Aria kept saying I was choosing you over her. He looked at his hands. Eventually I realized that's exactly what I should have done from the start. Chosen you. Chosen what was right. I'm sorry it came to that. I'm not. Well, I am. But also, he struggled for words. I learned something about myself, about what I'm willing to accept. He looked up. I should have defended you at the wedding. Should have thrown that floor cake in Miles's face. Should have stood beside you instead of watching them treat you like garbage. You were trying to keep peace. No, I was being a coward. There's a difference. He took a shaky breath. Can you forgive me? I reached across the table and gripped his shoulder. Already done. We talked for 2 hours. About everything. About his marriage falling apart. About his realization that the Harrington lifestyle came with unacceptable costs. About his plans to rebuild his career independently. I'm going to work with smaller firms, he said. Places that value people over image. It'll mean less money, less status, but I think I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. That's worth more than any amount of status. When he left, he hugged me at the door. Thanks, Dad, for not giving up on me, and for showing me what real strength looks like. 6 months after the gala, I presented at a regional agricultural conference. The room was packed. Cooperative leaders, university researchers, independent farmers, even some corporate representatives. I talked about nitrogen fixation, about soil health, about building sustainable systems through patient research and genuine collaboration. During Q&A, someone asked about the Harrington situation. I learned that protecting your work and your integrity sometimes requires courage, I said, but it also requires preparation. Know your rights, document everything, build relationships based on mutual respect, and never accept treatment that diminishes your worth. Applause filled the room. Afterward, people lined up to talk to me, farmers with questions, researchers proposing collaborations, students asking advice. Tara appeared in the crowd, smiling. You're becoming famous. I'm becoming useful. That's different. It's both. She gestured around the room. These people respect you, not because you took down the Harringtons, but because you spent decades earning that respect through your work. The Harringtons just gave me an opportunity to demonstrate it publicly. We walked out together into the late afternoon sun. My phone buzzed with new messages, more interview requests, more collaboration proposals, more opportunities than I could possibly pursue. "You know what's funny?" Tara said. "What?" "Miles Harrington spent his whole career trying to dominate markets through power and intimidation. You spent your career doing good work and treating people decently. Guess which strategy actually won?" I smiled. "Mine." "Exactly." She checked her watch. "I have to run. Logistics meeting in 30 minutes. But coffee next week?" "Absolutely." She walked to her car, waving as she drove away. I stood in the parking lot for a moment, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. My phone buzzed again. Victor confirming next week's field visit. Martin forwarding another cooperative inquiry. Julia sending updated contract templates. I thought about that night at the wedding, the floor cake on the plate, Miles's mocking smile, Aria's jealous glare, the moment I decided I wouldn't accept their disrespect anymore. Everything had changed from that single decision. Not because I'd destroyed the Harringtons, though I'd certainly damaged their reputation, but because I'd finally stood up for the value of my own work. The bacterial nitrogen fixation protocols that they'd tried to steal, now being implemented across 12 states, the cooperatives that they'd tried to control, now partnering directly with me, the respect that they'd tried to withhold, I'd earned it elsewhere, from people who actually mattered. My phone buzzed one more time. Noah. "Dinner this weekend?" "My treat," I typed back. "Looking forward to it." I climbed into my car and headed home. Behind me, the conference center lights were coming on. Ahead, the road stretched clear and open. I'd protected what was mine, built something worth protecting, and in the process reminded everyone, including myself, that expertise, integrity, and human decency would always matter more than power, money, or social status. The Harringtons had tried to make me feel small. Instead, they'd shown me exactly how strong I actually was.